16. August. Dearest Suzie, back in Vinlong again, and I guess I will be here until I leave for good. I have one more scheduled trip to Saigon, but I doubt if I will make it. I still don't have any orders, but I know where I will be going. Bud Bender wrote a letter to DA to check out our orders, and he got an answer day before yesterday. We are going to Fort Rucker. I am not too happy about it, but then I can think of a lot worse places to go. At least we won't have to move far. Things are the same for me. I am all packed up and ready to go. All I need is orders to ship my baggage. Then I will feel like I'm getting short when that's all gone. I imagine that you are lonesome, but you can take it for another month, and you can't be too bad off with 3 kids. It will be like old home week at Rucker. A lot of people that I know will be there. Well, I hope that you will be happy to hear that we are going to Rucker. So I will close for now. I love you very much and can hardly wait. All my love. Bill. When people think about the Vietnam War, they often picture the Huey helicopter slicing through jungle air, carrying troops into battle, or lifting the wounded out. What they may not realize is that the men flying those helicopters, tens of thousands of them, were trained in a single place, Fort Rucker, Alabama. Known today as the U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence, Fort Rucker became the early cradle of American helicopter warfare, and its story is central to understanding how the United States fought and adapted to the war in Vietnam. Fort Rucker's origins go back to World War II, when it was established in 1942 as Camp Rucker to train infantry divisions. It was named after Confederate General Edmund Rucker, and it functioned primarily as an infantry and artillery training post. But by the early 1950s, the Army faced a new kind of challenge, the need to develop its own aviation program. Until then, flight training had largely been controlled by the Air Force, but as the concept of battlefield mobility evolved, the Army began building its own aviation arm. Camp Rucker, soon renamed Fort Rucker in 1955, became the home of the Army Aviation Center. From this point on, it would lead the charge into a new era of military flight. As the U.S. escalated its involvement in Southeast Asia, helicopters became essential. They weren't just support vehicles anymore, they were strategy. Troops could be inserted and extracted quickly. Artillery could be moved to otherwise unreachable terrain. Medical evacuations could be measured in minutes, not hours. Fort Rucker trained the pilots who made all of that possible. The training pipeline was carefully structured. Students started with pre-flight ground school, then moved to primary training, usually at Fort Walters in Texas, before advancing to Fort Rucker for specialized instruction. There, they learned how to handle rotary aircraft in combat conditions, flying the UH-1 Huey, the CH-47 Chinook, and other helicopters under simulated battlefield stress. The numbers are staggering. During the war, more than 30,000 Army and Air Force pilots, along with over 5,000 Allied aviators, trained at Fort Rucker. Some days, the base managed nearly 500 sorties. Training was fast, intense, and absolutely essential to the war effort. The demand was so high that in 1966, the Army activated the 1st Aviation Brigade in Vietnam to coordinate the growing number of aircraft and personnel. At its peak, that brigade oversaw over 4,000 helicopters and 24,000 soldiers. When it returned stateside after the war, it continued its mission as part of the aviation training structure based at Fort Rucker. After the war, the Army shut down Fort Walters and consolidated all helicopter flight training at Fort Rucker. This made it the Army's singular hub for rotary wing training, a role it still holds today. Now known as the U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence, this post trains more than 1,400 pilots each year, houses over 500 helicopters, and even supports Air Force helicopter instruction through the 23rd Flying Training Squadron. The Army Aviation Museum, established in 1968, also calls Fort Rucker home. It preserves and showcases aircraft and artifacts from every era of Army flight, including many from Vietnam. Fort Rucker mattered because the Vietnam War demanded a new kind of warfare, one that relied on speed, flexibility, and the ability to get in and out of difficult terrain fast. It wasn't just about the helicopters, it was about the tactics developed around them. Rucker became the place where pilots learned to fly low, fast, and with purpose. They learned medevac under fire, troop insertions under fire, and how to fly nap of the earth to avoid enemy detection. Many of those techniques were honed through direct feedback from the battlefield and turned into doctrine on the training grounds of Alabama. In the end, Fort Rucker became more than a post. It became a proving ground. It was the place where the airmobile warfare refined. For the soldiers flying into the heart of the jungle, it was where they first learned what it meant to hover above the tree line, land under fire, and lift off again, carrying with them not just missions, but lives. And that's it. This is the final letter, chronologically, from Popi to Meemaw that we still have. He would return home about a month after writing this letter, but this is what we have. He gets his orders to go to Fort Rucker. Well, not really, but sort of. He begins packing up his belongings, and he ultimately decides to leave Charlie there, giving him to someone on base. Popi always joked that Charlie probably ended up in someone's stew. The photo I chose for today is one of my favorites. It appears to be early morning with the sun rising. It's almost dreamlike. Perhaps the exact thing Popi would have seen most mornings over there. I'm Alex Lowy, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.